रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित सीताराम रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम 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 भज सीताराम ईश्वर अल्लाह तेरो नाम सबको सन्मति दे भगवान रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम।
राजघाट पर सर्वधर्म प्रार्थना सभा का आयोजन, स्मृति पर
Coffee was introduced to India in the 17th century by the Sufi saint Baba Budan.
Baba Budan, who smuggled 7 coffee beans from Yemen and planted them in the Chikmagalur hills of Karnataka. The British later commercialized coffee cultivation, establishing large plantations in southern India. Today, India is known for its shade-grown coffee, which is cultivated under a canopy of trees.
Hello and welcome viewers. You're watching this special presentation of Sunset TV with your host Kriti Mishra. And today we are joined by a very special guest, Dr. V. Anantha Nageshwaran, the Chief Economic Advisor and the Principal Author of the Economic Survey. As the government's foremost advisor, he plays a pivotal role in shaping India's economic framework, guiding fiscal strategy, and articulating the nation's growth outlook. In this interview, we seek his perspective on the key findings of the Economic Survey, the challenges and opportunities before the Indian economy, and the expectations from the forthcoming budget. So welcome to Sunset TV and thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.
Sir, Economic Survey 2025-26 has set the macroeconomic context for the upcoming budget, particularly with respect to sustaining growth and confidence in corporate India. In your view, what is the single most important takeaway from the Economic Survey for policymakers and citizens alike?
We have been performing very well post-COVID. That's a fact. But the global context has become more difficult and dangerous, unpredictable. That's also a reality. And therefore, we have to not only sustain the actions that have given us high growth post-COVID, we need to also understand how to recraft and reorient ourselves in order to take into account the changed global scenario. And that means becoming an entrepreneurial state and for the private sector to focus on quality, R&D, and innovation. And therefore, no permanent protection, but protection can be given on a limited basis for specific goals and commitments in return by the industry. And Swadeshi does matter in this world because we have to indigenize. The world may stop supply at any given point in time. So these are all the various important highlights and messages of the Economic Survey. Back to you.
Well, that's sir. And the survey also proposes disciplined Swadeshi for strategic resilience, a calibrated three-tiered strategy that builds critical capabilities, reduces input costs, strengthens advanced manufacturing, and progresses from self-reliance to strategic indispensability. Help us understand that, sir.
Oh, well, basically, we said national strength comes through, first of all, making sure that we create a good ecosystem for indigenization, that is Swadeshi. And once we do that, so that we are not held hostage by the outside world, then that we are become strategically resilient. So Swadeshi or intelligent import substitution is the first step to making ourselves independent and making ourselves resilient. Then from there, we move on to becoming more important to the world, and we should reach a point where the world will depend on us. So the first step is to prepare the ground. Second step is to make sure that the world cannot hold us hostage. And the third step is to become very important to the world that the world cannot do without us. These are the 3 stages through which we should take our productive capabilities, especially in a geopolitically difficult and unpredictable world. And this is exactly the main topic of the capstone chapter number 16 in the Economic Survey.
Well, that's perfectly put. Also, the fact that survey outlines both global headwinds and domestic strengths. How resilient is the Indian economy in the current global economic environment, sir? Because we live in extremely uncertain times.
Sure. I think in general, we have demonstrated very high resilience in the last few years, in particular, as the world went through the Russian-Ukraine war beginning in 2022, chip supply disruptions, oil prices went high for 4 months or 5 months, etc. So we have lived through all those phases. Now we have been living with tariff for the last several months from the United States. and we have been trying to deal with it by diversifying our geographical market access in different parts of the world. So we have been very resilient, but this resilience is something that needs to be renewed every day because the world is becoming more and more complicated and unpredictable. Therefore, we cannot take the past resilience for granted. We have to keep at it on a daily basis.
The economic survey also emphasizes on capital expenditure as a growth driver. How does India further catalyze private sector investment, especially in long gestation sectors like infrastructure and manufacturing?
Well, I mean, the public sector has been supporting infrastructure investments. Effective capital expenditure has gone up to 3.8% of GDP. And the private sector has been investing, not necessarily in a continuously, steadily increasing fashion, but in fits and starts. But I understand from bottom-up data